Everyone assumed this was a slam-dunk trafficking case. It wasn't. A jury found Combs not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution. That's it, 2 counts. Not the counts that made headlines for a year straight. Think of it like ordering the biggest meal on the menu and only getting the side dish. Prosecutors built a case around organized abuse and control. The jury looked at it and said, "We believe some of this, but not the big picture you're painting." That distinction matters because it shaped everything that came after. But here's where things get interesting. Prosecutors had pushed for more than 11 years, while the defense sought 14 months, which would have equaled time served. 2 completely different worlds. And the judge landed somewhere in between, but a lot closer to the defense's number than anyone expected. On October 3, 2025, Judge Subramanian sentenced Combs to 4 years and 2 months in prison, a $500,000 fine, and 5 years of supervised release, 50 months. That's the number you'll see everywhere, and this is where most people make a mistake. They assume a lighter sentence means the judge went easy on him. Actually, the opposite happened in the courtroom that day. This part barely gets covered, and it's honestly the most powerful moment of the whole case. In remarks at Combs' sentencing, the judge said he had to consider all of the defendant's history, telling Combs, "You abuse the power and control with women you profess to love." That's not a judge being lenient. That's a judge on record saying the abuse was real, even while sentencing on a narrower set of charges. It's the kind of statement that shapes everything that comes next, including the appeal. Before the sentence was handed down, Combs addressed the judge directly, apologizing for what he called his sick actions and begging for mercy. When the sentence was actually read, he showed little emotion, looked down, and shook his head when the judge brought up the impact on his children. Afterward, he turned to his family, tapped his heart, and told them, "I love you, I'm sorry," before saying, "I'll be okay," as marshals led him out. Now this next part might surprise you. Combs' legal team isn't just accepting 50 months. His lawyers have argued the judge was wrong to consider Combs' abusive conduct, calling it acquitted conduct that shouldn't have influenced the sentence at all, and blasted the judge for acting like a 13th juror during the trial. Picture a courtroom like a scoreboard. The jury decided the score on specific charges. The defense is arguing the judge, then added extra penalty points based on things the jury never actually convicted him of. That's the entire legal argument for the appeal, boiled down into one sentence. This is the part everyone's searching for in 2026. Combs' appeal hearing was set for April 9, 2026, and legal analysts described the court's fast-track approval of the review as unusual, suggesting the panel believes the legal issues warrant serious examination. That word "unusual" is doing a lot of work there. Appeals normally crawl through the system for years. This one got expedited. That alone tells you the judges think there's a real legal question worth answering, not just a defendant grasping at straws. At that hearing, prosecutors insisted the 4-year, 2-month term was appropriate and even below federal sentencing guidelines, while the 3-judge panel did not immediately rule, as is standard. So no decision yet, but here's the range of outcomes on the table. If the panel agrees with the defense, outcomes could range from a reduced sentence to a complete reversal. On the other end, the panel could simply uphold everything exactly as it stands. Right now, Combs is incarcerated at the low-security Fort Dix Federal Prison in New Jersey and scheduled for release on April 15, 2028, according to Federal Bureau of Prisons records. That release date is the baseline. Everything the appeal is fighting for is about moving that date earlier or erasing the conviction that created it in the first place. Yeah, and this one's wild. Separate from the appeal, there have been reports that the sitting president was reportedly vacillating on a potential commutation for Combs, citing a high-ranking White House official as a source. Now notice the word vacillating. That's not confirmation, that's not even a leaning one way or the other. It's a reported signal that the idea has at least been discussed somewhere in the White House. Whether that ever turns into an actual decision is a completely separate question, and as of now, nothing has been finalized on that front. And this is where most coverage stops, but the story didn't. New allegations have surfaced involving a music producer who says Combs exposed himself and asked him to assist in a sex act, with a Combs attorney denying the claims. This matters because it shows the legal exposure here isn't frozen in time. Even while the appeal plays out on the original conviction, new claims are still emerging. It's less like a single closed book, and more like a story that keeps adding chapters while the previous one is still being reviewed. Everyone focuses on the prison sentence, but the money story is just as wild. Before his arrest in September 2024, Forbes estimated Combs' net worth at roughly $1 billion, a figure that's been in freefall ever since. With brand partnerships evaporating and Diageo ending its Ciroc vodka deal entirely. Imagine building an empire across music, fashion, spirits, and nightlife for 30 years, and watching every single pillar of it get tested at the exact same time. That's not a slow decline. That's a structural collapse happening in real time, and it's still unfolding as the legal case continues. Here's something a lot of coverage skips entirely. The criminal case isn't the only fight. Multiple civil lawsuits remain active, including at least 3 men accusing Combs of rape or sexual assault, a former male employee's sexual battery claim, and a woman's allegation of drugging and sexual assault. And these aren't just sitting quietly. In February 2026, a Los Angeles Superior Court judge allowed key claims in one case to proceed, including sexual battery and false imprisonment allegations. Even if the criminal appeal goes his way, this second track of legal exposure keeps moving independently. Now this next part might surprise you. Netflix released a documentary called Sean Combs, The Reckoning, produced by longtime rival 50 Cent, and Combs' legal team publicly called it a shameful hit piece. Think about that for a second. A convicted defendant's own legal team is now fighting a media narrative war on top of the actual courtroom battle. That's 2 separate fronts running at the exact same time, and it's part of why this case feels so loud online even when there's no new court date on the calendar. And this is honestly the part that makes this story so searched, so argued about, so alive online. In hip-hop circles, reaction has been notably fractured. Some see the prosecution as justice for alleged victims. Others view it through a racial lens, questioning whether powerful black men face disproportionate legal targeting. While a third group on social media questions the fairness of a trial conducted under intense media scrutiny. There's also an outside comparison that's been getting attention. Ian Maxwell, brother of Ghislaine Maxwell, said in a 2026 interview that Combs stands in front of the same federal court on the same charge and receives 4.5 years for extreme physical battery, while his own sister receives 20 years. That comparison alone has fueled a huge chunk of the ongoing debate about consistency in federal sentencing. 3 completely different lenses, all looking at the exact same set of facts, plus an outside case being used as ammunition in the argument. That's rare. Most celebrity legal cases have one dominant public reaction. This one has several loud, competing ones all still going. So here's the real takeaway. This case isn't over and it isn't simple. A jury cleared him of the biggest charges. A judge still called out the abuse on record. And now an appeals court is deciding whether that sentence should even stand. While new allegations and civil suits keep the story moving even further. Whatever happens in that ruling is going to reshape how this entire saga gets remembered. If this finally made the Diddy case make sense to you, you're going to want to watch the next video where I break down exactly what a reversed federal sentence would even look like, and whether that commutation rumor has any real weight behind it. Hit like if this helped, subscribe if you want the real update the second that appeal ruling drops, and I'll see you in the next one.